this California committee called me back and said, we've changed our mind. We want somebody older and more mature for this song that we've written for the pageant.
Right.
And I thought, thank you, Lord. Great decision.
Wow.
There were lots of them. So traveled in 69 and then graduated from high school, was already still in high school. Graduated in 71, and I get a call from Steve Pilson. Now, there's an old Continental name for you.
Yeah.
And he said, John, what are you doing? I said, well, I took a semester off before going to college. How would you like to be a booker for a group called New Hope? And I'd seen New Hope. They were very good. I think they started around 69. Want to come down and book? We just lost our booker. I don't know anything about that, Steve. No problem. I'll train you. You know what train you meant? An hour pep talk, an empty office, and a telephone. Steve was a pretty good salesman himself. So I took up the booking of New Hope, which was when Danny Robbins and oh my gosh, Bruce Kripe and
Bruce, yeah.
That season, right?
Yeah.
So Dan Burgess, lots of people. So I took it up and I said, well, how far are they booked? And he said, we've got 2 concerts. Your first one to book is 3 days out. And I said, thank you so much. And I'd get on the phone and say, Pastor, would you like to have this amazing group? They're called New Hope and they're so good. And oh, you would? Great. When? How about Thursday? You know, like it's Tuesday.
Right.
Long story short, spent a month doing that and got them booked fully out for a month with 2 or 3 concerts every day. So that was kind of fun. Went off to Oral Roberts, and Continental still did not leave me because I went to sing on the Oral's TV show in the World Action Singers. And I offended Richard Roberts in the first week. That's a great skill that I have. And I lost my scholarship and my position. So I called Cam. He had just written It's Getting Late. And we had done it the previous summer. And I said, why don't we produce that on the ORU campus? And of course, his story is, it's largely true that it was ahead of the game for the American church. And it wasn't, it was ready for Europe, loved it in South Africa, U.S. church, a little rocky, great for this setting. So I went in and asked the school, may I rent this auditorium? We'll do Cam Floria's musical, It's Getting Late. And they basically looked at me like, who are you, no-name freshman? We're not going to rent you our brand new Maybe Center. That's our feather in the cap.
Right.
Called Cam. He called Ralph. Ralph was doing the music at that time. He called the school, rented to him. He's a real deal. So we did this big production of It's Getting Late, and it was a huge hit. Following week, I think, I got a call from Cam saying, how would you like to direct a Continental tour this summer? It's now 1973. I'll be 19. I said, well, I was planning to come back anyway, but not as a director. It never even crossed my mind. And he said, John Lee's wife is pregnant, and we're not sure that they can do the tour, but I'd sure like you to consider taking that group. And I said, well, if you think I'm ready, I guess I'll give it a try. And boy, the director's camp was all these guys from Baylor, and they've all got music degrees. They've got several years under their belt. They're amazing. And I'm the kid.
Yeah.
And they're looking at Cam like, what are you doing? You're crazy. It worked out okay. 73 went just super. 4, 5, 6. 76 was my last time directing. But one of my goals during those years was to try to provide a new director each year, so that when I left, there'd be a few. And you mentioned Fred Heumann. He was with me for a few years. Rex Kennemer, Wayne Watson, and some others. But I think one of the major things that happened is after the very first tour of 73 directing, Cam offered me the recruiting job in the office. And I said, can't do that, going back to ORU, but I got a great guy for you. He'd been my assistant. Who's that? Johnny Johnson. So Johnny Johnson came to the office, and I think he stayed 10 or 12 years at
Yeah, he
least,
was there a while. Yeah.
perhaps longer than that. But my intent was I'm getting so much from Continental. How can I always be on the receiving end? I need to be on the giving end. So as much as possible, I would try to get my friends involved, and then, you
I've,
know,
I've told Cam many times that's our commodity in trade
oh
is
yeah,
duplication of leadership that he started investing and believing in you. And our journeys are very similar. I was 19 when I directed the British Continentals,
mm,
and I was felt the same at director's
yeah,
camp. I was just a decent singer. I wasn't like I didn't have all
yeah,
the music pedigree and everything else.
right,
So, that's Cam's real gift, I think, is seeing that
genius.
potential and duplicating it in other people. So
That's exactly right. And so there's a takeaway. And so, though what I do today with celebrant singers never grew as large, it grew as large in terms of numbers of concerts. We had a 20 plus year season where we did 1,500 concerts a year.
wow,
That's pretty sizable.
yeah,
But we have only had about 3,500 alumni. Continentals has had maybe 40,000, and plus the internationals, which was
twice,
so
yeah, really
small.
twice that, yeah.
Yeah, it perpetuates the whole philosophy and the ethos. In my view, since it's Cam's birthday today, by the way,
Right.
hello,
Happy
Cameron,
birthday, Cam.
September 22. We always remember that. Since it's that, let me say these few thoughts. I think Cam Floria, to this very day, and I feel like I've been everywhere and met everybody, is a variety of things. He's the best choral conductor I've ever experienced.
Hands
As a
down.
fact, when I had a heart surgery 12 years ago, he came over and directed our entire homecoming concert while I sat in a chair. To this day, I think he's the best choral conductor ever. Secondly, I think he is one of the best, if not the best, leader I've ever encountered.
Hmm.
And I used to say to him on a regular basis, you think way beyond these people. We'd be in a meeting with other Christian leaders and such, and we'd kind of debrief after, and I'd say, you think way beyond these people. You're in a whole different place, not a different level. And I
Yeah.
don't say this, to give uh, inordinate kudos or self-aggrandizement to this individual. It's the truth.
Yeah.
So then we started Christian Artist Camp, and he asked if I would come and help do that. So we did. And I moved to Denver for 6 weeks, lived in a guy's basement, newly married, lived in a guy's basement, and we helped put that first camp together. And then
Music in the Rockies, the Christian Artist Seminar
that's
up
right,
at Estes
Christian
Park.
Artist Camp in the Rockies, Estes Park, which ran for, I think, 25 years.
Yeah.
And then he had my Continental group come along with the orchestra group and such. And we opened it every Sunday night.
Hmm.
I think 2 years with the Continentals and Celebrants had 20 plus years of opening it every night on Sunday night.
It's great.
But the contribution of Continental singers, which is the heart child of Cam Floria, immense, and has colored everything. My father was an excellent businessman, and I got a great deal from him. Loved him, and he was so good it was in my cornflakes. Other leadership components and spiritual principles came from Cam and the other people.
Right.
And I should also say in those early days that Ken and Nancy Wagner were super good leaders.
Yep. Without a doubt.
I look back at it today. I spent my 4 summers when I was a singer with them. And so there's a direct link. You have Cam, you have Ken, and then Ken to me. So it was a first generational, transmission of philosophy
Yep.
and skills and things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
They were amazing. When I look at it today, they were 22 years old.
Amazing.
22 years old.
It's
You
amazing.
were 19 doing your thing. I was 19. This is all crazy unless you have the courage and the faith and the ability to recognize certain things in certain people.
Yeah.
Realize they're flawed. You realize they got a lot of growing to do, a lot of growing up to do, but you invest in them. And I've had a little bit of that privilege too in building directors over the years. They've served now the big church programs in the country and on college and university medical musical staffs, things of this sort. But God has been good to us, Jim.
Yeah. You know, one of the great principles I got from Cam, you did too, is, and I know you know this, when I got to the point I was vice president, I was helping choose directors and weigh who, which guys or gals would
Sure.
be right for the role.
Yeah.
Cam's bottom line was always, will anybody follow this person?
That's it.
That's it. You can have all the degrees or none of the degrees. Will anybody follow this person? And
Right.
I thought, wow, that has served me so well in so many areas of life,
Sure.
in all the things that I've done. There are real nuggets like that I'm really grateful to have in my pocket, from those
my goodness.
experiences.
And, the level of excellence, I was watching Wayne Watson's episode. He said, I think his answer was, he said, what'd you learn? He said, how to tape chords.
Yeah.
The whole deal was a continuance of excellence all the way through. Yeah. One thing I wanted to say, Jim, very strongly is that this video project that you're doing with Continental Roundtable and featuring people who are expressing themselves about their experience and their takeaway from Continentals is masterful. It's absolutely masterful. And when I saw the first one, I thought, this is perfect, because your interest is to develop, through the Continental Global Foundation, a good support base for all of the international teams that you still have.
Yeah.
See, we don't have that. I'm in my 46th year with Celebrant Singers. And there's a lot of residuals, a lot of beautiful things that have happened on the mission field in the Catholic Church, and a lot of groups that have emulated us, but it wasn't official. They got their inspiration there. Not only in your case did they get their inspiration there, they became part of the family. So you have these international groups spread everywhere. Guess what? They're not all as in such economic strong environments as we are.
Right.
And they need help. And at the end of this video, every week I hear, do you wish you could pay your Continental experience forward? Well, you can. We've got these groups and da-da-da. I'm going to tell you something. I think that's perfect. And I'm going to put forth a challenge to people today. I told Cam recently, I said, we should get this thing to where it raises $1 million a year. He said, boy, would I love that. And I said, sure. So here's a small beginning. Don't despise small beginnings.
Amen.
I'm going to give you a check for $1,000 at the end of this video. And I'm going to challenge 250 other people who have gotten so much from Continentals to do the very same thing or better, depending upon your abilities. But here's the deal. If we do that in a year, maybe we reach $250,000. Then the following year, maybe we double that to 500,000. And eventually we hit that $1 million. Maybe it'll take us 3 years. But what better investment can you make?
Amen.
Pay back, give back. You were talking about paying forward. That's true. But give back to the people who gave to you. Because I can tell you, my life would have gone an entirely different direction. I have no idea what it would have been. Perhaps the electrical business, contracting, maybe entertainment. I don't really know. But having nearly 50 years now, over 50 if you count the Continental days of ministry.
Yeah.
What value can you attach to that? There's no way you can put a value on that. It's been my entire life. So I'm challenging each person watching this to do a couple of things. First of all, send it to others. It needs more viewership. Send it to the Continental people you know and get this word out there. There is a global foundation to support what we did through the lives of other people in other countries. The $1,000 check I'm giving today, it's not all that much, but it's what I can do. And I challenge you to do it too.
Have you ever wished you could gift your life-changing Continental experience to someone else? Well, you can. Your monthly giving can make a huge impact for our teams all over the world. Did you know that this year, we'll have more than 20 Continental groups on the road, communicating in 7 different languages? The Continental story goes on, so keep writing your part of it by being on our support team. And our groups will say, thank you, in 7 different languages.